First off, we have presenting live via Zoom from Tokyo, RossRudolph. Russ originally hails from Texas, and his work explores the relationship between tech, nature, and gnosis. RossRudolph.
Thank you, Steve. Hi, everyone from Japan. I regret not being there in person, but I look forward to seeing everyone that might attend the exhibition in July. I'm excited to show you what I've been working on. So my name is Ross Rudolph. I traditionally work as a product designer, passionate about creating tools to help people. I've been feeling more and more unsettled by the industry's motivations, though. My work in wellness industry often doesn't survive the consumer market. In the bottom right, you can see a meditation product I work on that uses the breath biofeedback in real time to have meditative experiences. Is now a medical product for patient monitoring. I'm currently exploring two paths of myself, developing my relationship to spirit and nature and utilizing tech for creative expression. So the project intention here is exploration of my belief in the promising potential tech has for spiritual esoteric storytelling, as well as an expression of commentary on consumer society. Lightbody is a trial version of a program hosting modern ritual between two participants and their digital guardians, utilizing trance-inducing visualizations and manipulation of reflections for spiritual development. A brief explainer of my personal belief system, since it's relevant. One gets closer to God through developing esoteric understanding, something not easily explained, but sits somewhere between intuitive feeling and logical reasoning. And these mystical or Gnostic experiences can happen organically, but are often induced by external factors such as noticing synchronicities, getting deeply inspired by an experience, or interacting with literal deities. One of the most inspiring figures to me is English Renaissance mystic William Blake. And I like to think of this project as what he might have created with the use of modern technology. He used visual art and poetry to communicate the vivid yet esoteric connection he knew there to be between the spirit and physical realms. And he has this quote about his work. If the spectator could enter into these images in his imagination, approaching them on the fiery chariot of his contemplative thought, then he would arise from his grave and he would meet the Lord in air and then he would be happy. So he's just saying the importance of getting his work across and having people experience it. And a note about mysticism in tech and art. I believe technology has a great potential in spiritual practice for its ability to encourage the participants' conscious awareness to transcend into realities beyond the physical world. Genesis P. Orridge explored this with the Temple of Psychic Youth, who held rituals in the 80s, staring into TV fuzz to encourage mystical visions and images to arise. They were labeled as chaos magic. This is one of the few religious practices that embraces the use of technology. Another big inspiration is Roman Verosco, who pioneered the use of algorithms for creative expression. And I'm noting him because he devoted much of his life to living in monasteries, lived a very spiritual lifestyle. Two other examples are Jim Campbell, who's one of the first artists to manipulate real-time reflections and hallucinations. In 88 participants, reflections burst into flames as a ghost-like spirit appears in the room with them. And a more modern example is Adrian M. and Claire B. create these works that respond to body movement, utilizing technology's ability to invoke spaces that exist beyond the physical world. Quick note on mysticism's fraught relationship with society. I have this quote from Mayfair Yang. A possible reason why spirit possession is denigrated today is that it violates modernity's plan for the orderly, industrial, and state-disciplined body. You don't see mysticism talked about everywhere. This is a potential reason. You can't really have everyone feeling like they have a direct connection to God or things would get out of hand. Onto the concept. So the tools that I'm using in this are Touch Designer Stable Diffusion, Touch Designer for its ability to render complex particle system movement and create these real-time interactions with participants' bodies. and stable diffusion because I wanted to use an AI image model to utilize their divinatory or kind of mysterious nature to alter participants' appearance. And being open source, stable diffusion can be adapted to programs such as Touch Designer. How I aim to inspire these mystical experiences with these programs are through these main factors: visualization, trance states, divination, and in the container of ritual. So visualization, which is utilized in ritual practices throughout antiquity to guide intention setting. In yoga and meditation practice, in addition to modern pagan and Wiccan rituals, participants are guided through intentional visualizing, such as imagining beams of light emanate from areas of the bodies connecting to the earth and other participants. And how I'm using it in this project is taking advantage of the Touch Designer particle system rendering, um, where participants are literally visually guided through the visualization aspect of the ritual, which is typically done with closed eyes. So it's kind of an experiment I'm excited to try. The next one is trance states. So my belief in these hermetic practices leads me to believe that altered states of consciousness more easily lead to altered states of knowledge. Altered states of consciousness are traditionally achieved through gazing into alluring objects or phenomenon that strike the right balance between repetition and organic movement, such as this ritualistic tradition of gazing into campfire dating back to early human gatherings. Gazing into obscured mirrors, also a common practice among many religious cultures for its entrancing effects and ability to encourage the questioning of oneself. How I'm using them in this project are the entrancing capabilities of the particle system movement that will evolve to induce a trance-like state and encourage the dissolving idea of the self in the reflection to encourage the participants to enter into a different reality. And then divination, a traditional method for tapping into the divine pattern of the universe by combining intention with a carefully curated randomization. The tarot and I Ching are some of the most widely used methods of divination, using shuffling cards and scattering yarrow sticks to achieve this randomization effect. How I'm using it in this project is this using the AI model, which is given a somewhat vague prompt about Hermetic and Hellenistic deities, and I'm drawn to this mysterious nature of not knowing how the AI came up with the likeness of the participant. Even the engineers who build the algorithm models have a hard time explaining how they come with these solutions. And then combining these into a ritual structure. So modern pagan and Wiccan rituals follow a general purposeful structure that has been refined over millennia, which I want to stay true to with this project that starts with a grounding experience and has a primary kind of climax experience and then ends with a closing. Kind of a brief overview about how the project is set up in Touch Designer. I won't go into much detail unless there's more questions, but just taking the normal video input, extracting the bodies, passing that into stable diffusion to generate these deity likenesses, and passing their bodies through evolving particle system effects, and then also creating these particle systems that have the visualization storyline and combining these together into the visual output along with music that responds to the scenes. So the grounding experience has a welcoming where a AI host welcomes the participants as there's a cloudy atmosphere depicting the cleansing intention of the opening. Then there's a grounding where roots grow beneath participants with accompanying audio and imagery, and circle casting for protection around the participants. And this is a clip from the intro where two participants what they'll see after they enter the space and get settled.
Welcome. Consider your reflected avatars as guardians who will aid in bridging the gap between the material world and higher realms. We will begin with grounding and circle casting for protection when thinning the boundaries. Please make yourself comfortable.
And then that will evolve into this primary experience where there's a dissolving of the self through particles and then invoking altered states of mind through these trance motions, and then the deity overlay onto the participants. And then there's an environment that, an altered environment that they feel like they're in. Here's a clip from the primary experience where where it's intended to dissolve the participant's idea of the ego and attachment to the physical body, using this entrancing visualizations that will evolve. And here's another clip showing how the deity is overlaid onto the participant. There's only one person in this because it's still a work in progress. And then there's a closing that is more of a commentary on how um, the complicated relationship with building these technically complex products have with society and how they need to be maintained. So since this is only a trial version, a pop-up appears prompting the renters to contact sales to unlock the full version. And since participants are still connected to their spiritual guardians, the experience begins to kind of glitch and take on a demonic appearance, creating an unsettling feeling and kind of encouraging them to leave. And the installation setup will be this tent inspired by Jewish tabernacles that were used as temporary religious structures when they were nomadic. And the two participants will sit together as the experience is projected onto the tapestry in front of them. And that is what I have so far. Currently, things I'm working on are latency concerns with the stable diffusion, comfy TD integration, and next step is figuring out how to map the entity onto participants' bodies. And thank you for listening.